ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
Who else could it be? Me, you're me, Louie T. Welcome to Thursday Night Football Overtime. Falcons, Panthers, NFC South family business. If these two teams said they ain't did it, then they ain't did it. But if they did, well, that's NFC South family business. And boy, this was some funky quarterback play tonight. Now, the weather was not great, but that shit doesn't matter. This thing could have been played in Atlanta in a controlled environment, and we still would have gotten the same quarterback play we got tonight. Look, it's never easy playing in wet conditions, and it was bad tonight. It rained from the kickoff to the final whistle of this game. Some portions of the game a little bit harder than others, but this was the game where you needed to control the line of scrimmage and be able to run the football, especially with the quarterbacks playing in this game. You really want to take the ball out of the quarterback's hands because, as we saw tonight, both quarterbacks easily could have thrown 3 or 4 picks, both of them, okay? I can't tell you how many interceptions should have been caught. There were some that were caught, but they didn't count because this happened or that happened on the play. But let me say this. I expect that from P.J. Walker, okay? My wife asked me, who's the quarterback for Carolina? I said, you don't want to know. Don't worry about it. I said, it's P.J. Walker. She said, who? I said, exactly. I expect that from him. All right, it's P.J. Walker. Marcus Mariota, on the other hand, he has not been doing this all season. I don't know what happened to him tonight, what went through his brain at portions of this game. Now, I've seen Marcus Mariota do some crazy shit before, but Marcus was on one tonight. Like, it didn't count, but Marcus is getting tripped up. He's about to fall down. This brother turns in midair as his body is about to hit the ground, and he's trying to fling it. He doesn't know where it's going to go. He's just trying to get rid of the football like hot potato, right? Throws it right to a defender. And luckily enough for him, it did not count. It would have been a pick 6. And I'm just thinking to myself, Marcus, what are you doing? What are you doing right now, Marcus? Marcus, stop it. You're embarrassing me. Like, those are the types of plays and the decisions you make at 1 o'clock in the 6th window on Fox with only Panthers and Falcons fans watching so that no one else knows what kind of tomfoolery you're involving yourself in. You just need to keep that under wraps when it's a nationally televised game. Don't show everybody that you're doing this shit on a weekly basis. He did 2 or 3 of those type plays where I'm like, Marcus, dude, seriously? That's what we own tonight. That's what we doing. I didn't know he had that in him. I'm not going to lie to you. I knew Marcus had some foolishness in him. I didn't know he had that in him, though. That said, the Falcons were one of the more run-heavy teams in the NFL. They had a ton of success. They showed all the different graphics tonight. You know, they got 4 different guys over 250 yards rushing on the season. You know, they spread it around. Huntley and obviously Cordero Patterson is back now. Tyler Algier. Mariota is also in the mix as a runner. They had this Williams kid getting some touches tonight. They spread it around, but they run the football, and that is their offense. It's not often that Mariota is throwing the football 30 some odd times in a game. I think he threw it 30 times tonight. 30 on the dot did Marcus Mariota. That's not something that he does on a normal basis. He normally is good for, 15, 20, 25 at the most passing attempts in a game because they run it so much. But that wasn't the case tonight. And I was actually surprised. And look, honestly speaking, a lot of his passing attempts came towards the end of the game when they were down by 13 and they needed, points right away. And so he took to the air and every play was essentially a pass. So that's why the numbers kind of ran up. But this is not what the Falcons do. You know, they don't give Marcus Mariota the football 30 times and ask him to sling it around the field. They're running the football. They're going read option. They're going some RPO work. He's keeping it at times and using his legs as a runner. And tonight, for some reason, and Carolina hasn't been great stopping the run, but this is when family business kicks in. I know you. I know what you want to do. And the Panthers, I felt, and I picked the Panthers. I said that out before the game started that I thought they would win this game. The Panthers, I thought, were going to be able to defensively hone in on that run game. I didn't know the weather was going to be as inclement as it was. Knew that there could be a chance of rain. I didn't know it was going to be raining the entire game. But that fit the Falcons' narrative of, hey, we want to run the football. It's a sloppy game. This fits right into what we thought the Falcons were going to be able to do. What it ultimately turned into was it benefited Carolina and what they wanted to do. And you heard Steve Wilks, tell his team, and this is not the first time. He said the same thing against Tampa Bay when they beat the Buccaneers about 3 weeks ago. Control the line of scrimmage. We need to be the more physical team up front. We do that, we'll win the game. They beat Tampa Bay. When he said that, he said it again tonight. They won again tonight, and they won up front in the trenches on both sides of the football. They got after Mariota, sacked him 5 or 6 times in this game. Easily could have had 8 or 9 sacks, just couldn't corral him a few times. They were able to rush the football. Deontay Foreman had 30 some odd carries, 130 plus yards in this game. He was dominant. You sprinkle in Hartsfield or the rookie running back out of Virginia Tech, Blackshear. You sprinkle in a little bit of Chuba Hubbard. I thought P.J. Walker should have ran it a little bit more himself. There were some read option opportunities for him to pull it and take off. And then the one that he does pull, he shouldn't have pulled because the guy actually took him and not the running back. And he had to get creative and make that guy miss. And so I thought he should have been more active in the run game himself. But that said, the Panthers were the ones that controlled the action up front. They were the ones to be able to run the football. I thought they would win this game because I've been involved, as a fan in a division like this before, just 2 years ago, where you seem dead. You get an opportunity at home against a team that's competing, trying to win the division. All bets are off. None of these teams in that division is good. Tampa Bay stinks. Carolina stinks. Atlanta stinks. New Orleans stinks. No one in that division is any good. Again, it reminded me of 2 years ago in the NFC East when nobody was good. Washington, who won the division, they stunk. Dallas was funky with no Dak Prescott. The Giants were awful. They had Joe Judge as a coach. Looking back, it's crazy. We thought he was actually going to be good for them. That was his first year. He actually turned out to be terrible, but they were horrible that year. And the Eagles were trash. All right. And Doug Peterson was on the verge of being fired. So this reminds me a lot of that. And just when you're ready to count a team out, just when you think a team is dead, they're able to resurrect themselves because the rest of the division sucks. Look at Carolina. They're 3-7 right now. All 3 of their wins, if I'm not mistaken, have come in the division. They beat New Orleans. They beat Tampa Bay. They beat Atlanta. Could have easily swept these Falcons. Okay. If nothing else, they're doing what they need to do inside the division. Now, when you're a bad football team in a bad division, that's what you're going to have to do, and that's how you're going to win the division. That's how you're going to give yourself a chance, is to clean up the division and then hope you get lucky once or twice outside of the division. But if you take care of business within the division, it's going to give you a shot. And that's why Carolina isn't dead. They're not going to win the division. Okay, I'm still putting my money on Brady. It's all said and done. As bad as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are on offense right now, as bad as they are on defense at times right now, they're still the best team. They're the best of the worst in that division. So Carolina won't win this division, but they're not going to go away quietly, is all I'm saying. And so they took care of business tonight. It was not pretty. The Falcons, they're comical at this point. Like the Laviska Shenault touchdown, they get 2 guys running into each other. Like, we're watching a game, and my wife is like, how did they let him score. And I'm like, you didn't see the two clowns run into each other? She's like, no. They show the replay. They keep showing it and you keep missing it. And then they finally go to commercial break, come back. And that's when I think Kirk Herbstreit and company got wind of the fact that two guys ran into each other. So they showed it. I said, babe, look. And she's like, those clowns. Boom, crash into each other. And that's how he scored. I'm like, Laviska Shenault's not fast enough to turn the corner and beat angles and run down the sidelines and score. What's going on here? Well, I mean, obviously I saw it live that those two, crash dummies, ran into each other. But you needed plays like that to be able to win the game tonight. You needed something like that. And then you had the Deontay Foreman performance as well. Take the ball out of PJ Walker's hands because he's dangerous. He's lethal. You saw him trying his hardest to give the Falcons every opportunity to get back into this game, whether it was him almost getting sacked and throwing the football right to a defender, Alford, and it go right through his hands. Again, it's a wet night. I don't expect defensive backs to catch the football cleanly on a night like tonight, but you saw that one of those last few third downs, he's throwing a slant to DJ Moore. Moore's open. He's throwing the ball behind DJ Moore, and it's almost picked off by a safety, Richie Grant. Now, again, I'm asking myself, what are you doing, dude? I'm asking PJ, what are you doing, dude? But it's PJ Walker. So this is the state of the quarterback position in the league for teams that don't have a quarterback. This is what it looks like. Falcons are going to need a quarterback. They got the young fella at some point, and this is what sucks about what the Falcons are doing right now. Teams like Atlanta and Washington who have these situations where they've got young quarterbacks. You hate what's going on with Carolina and Matt Corral's injury because this is the perfect time for Matt Corral to be playing, for them to kind of see if they like Matt Corral and what he's doing or not. He should be playing right now. This shouldn't be PJ Walker, keeping his team on life support. It shouldn't be Baker Mayfield. We know what he is. He's not going to be around next year. It shouldn't be Sam Darnold. Those guys are expired milk, okay? This should be Matt Corral playing and seeing if he can do it or not. Does he have what it takes to give him another, similar to what happened with Davis Mills last year in Houston? The Texans were in a position at number 2 overall in the draft. Obviously, that made it a lot easier for them to say, you know what, we're going to roll with Davis and see what he can do in a full season. Made it a lot easier with the draft class of quarterbacks. If you put that same draft class of quarterbacks that's coming out this year in last year's draft, the Texans wouldn't have Davis Mills playing quarterback right now. So it made it a lot easier for them to figure out. But you would really like to see Matt Corral get an opportunity so that they can figure out if they need to do what the Texans did with Davis Mills and say, all right, we're going to give you a season to see if you're really legit or not. We got our answer on Davis Mills. He's not. So they'll be hunting for a quarterback. Both of these teams right here probably should be hunting for quarterbacks because I don't think the answer is on the Falcons roster either with the Cincinnati quarterback, Desmond Ridder. But we can't know that for sure. And because the Falcons are square in the middle of a divisional race, they can't afford to take out Mariota and insert the young fella and give him an opportunity. So that's the thing that sucks. If Tampa Bay was taking care of business like we thought they were going to do, like they're supposed to be doing, they would have already run away and hid with this division. If they were 7-3 right now, because I think the Buccaneers have not had their bye week yet. Don't think. They're 4-5 right now. So they haven't had their bye week yet. This is week 10, and they'll be playing their 10th game this week. Had they been taking care of business, and if they were 6, let's call them 6-2, right? 6-3 right now, with an opportunity to go to 7-3 this weekend against Seattle. Then Atlanta could do what they were probably supposed to be doing this year, which is, let's see what Desmond Ridder could do. Can't do that now. You're chasing after bonus football. You got to keep Mariota in there. It gives you the best chance to win. Sucks because obviously Mariota ain't it. We know PJ Walker in Carolina, and there are so many teams around the league that need quarterbacks. That this is the crazy part that kills me every year is we talk about this shit every single year, and you would think the number of teams that need quarterbacks would dwindle to the point where if there are 4 or 5 guys that are coming out, that it would be a surplus, in that a team that isn't necessarily desperate for a quarterback, like say Pittsburgh last year, right? Had Ben Roethlisberger, weren't really desperate, but hey, could take one if there was one available. New Orleans, a couple of years ago with Drew Brees, he's hanging on by a thread. Really don't need a quarterback, but hey, if one's there that we like, not Ian Book in the 6th round, right? I'm talking about like legitimately first round, back into the first round type of dude. But you can't, every year, 6, 7 teams need a quarterback. Every year, it never ceases to amaze me how every year, 7 teams need a quarterback. You're like, bro, 7 teams needed a quarterback last year. Is there never, teams finding guy like, that's how hard it is. That's how hard it is. Every year, 7 teams need a quarterback. Every year. It never ceases to amaze me. You would think one year you'd be like, well, shit, only like 3 teams need a quarterback. It's going to be like 5 dudes with a first-round grade. Every year, 7 teams need a quarterback. No different this year. We just saw 2 of them on display tonight. The Texans need a quarterback. Washington needs a quarterback. And we can keep going with teams that, like Detroit, for instance, they got Jared Goff, but don't think for 1 second they hesitate to pull the trigger if they land in a spot where they can get themselves a quarterback, right? Like, we can keep going down a list of teams that need quarterbacks in this league. And it's just crazy to think that they're not enough. Supply and demand. It's crazy. Anyway. Enough of that. Panthers get the win 25-15. They're 3-7. Don't count out the Carolina Panthers. That's the best advice I can give you, is having been a fan of a team that played in a similar division. I think it's a little bit different because there was no quarterback in the NFC East in 2020. Not a single one. There's Tom Brady in the NFC South. That counts for something. Just off the strength of Brady, they're going to win that division. But that's a broken Buccaneers football team right now. They're broken. As a matter of fact, I would be shocked if they won over in Germany on Sunday. I'd be shocked with the way Seattle's playing and as disciplined as the Seahawks are and how undisciplined the Buccaneers are. I'd be shocked if they went over there and won. So they probably will end up 4-6 with the Buccaneers and be right back in the mix with Atlanta. They got first place all to their lonesome right now at 4-5 by a half game. And I think they're going to lose on Sunday. They'll be right back tied. Like, that's what this, when you are in a bad division, this is what happens. They're going to lose. And guess what? Carolina's going to look up and say, shit, we're 1 game out of first place. And they've got the best record of any of the teams in the division right now. They've got the best record in the division. They've beaten every single team in the division once. They're done with Atlanta. They could have swept them. They didn't. They let that game slip through their fingers. But they've beaten Carolina. I mean, they've beaten Atlanta once. They've split with them. They've already beaten Tampa Bay. All right. They've already beaten New Orleans. The bad part is they've played all of their home division games already. This was their last one. They got to go to Tampa. They got to go to New Orleans. But they don't care. They don't care about going to Tampa. Nobody cares about going to Tampa. Nobody cares about going to New Orleans. So if the Buccaneers don't get it done, Carolina's going to look up and they're going to be 1 game out of first place at 3-7. Been there, done that. Can't count them out. Anyway, I digress. If you're out there, I can't see this video being very long because we knew it going in. It's Falcons and Panthers. I mean, what are you going to do, right? Everybody, like, when it comes to Thursday night football, it's like Little League, sports. Everybody's got to get a turn. Got to make sure everybody gets in the game. Everybody's got to be on prime time, right? Thursday night is the product where you make sure everybody gets a fair shot, because the league no longer wants it to be where a team hasn't been on prime time in 7 years because they've been trash. So obviously they changed the rules about 5-6 years ago. Everybody gets a turn. And I prefer it when they do it just like this. This is the best way to do it. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Nobody wants to watch Atlanta and Carolina. Put them on at the same time. Nobody wants to. That's why I was upset about Houston. Like, put Houston on against Jacksonville, or put Houston on against. They're going to force feed us Tennessee because the Titans make the playoffs every year, but nobody really wants to see the Titans. But fine. Put the Texans on against one of their divisional foes. Pick one. Jacksonville, Tennessee. And call it a day. Like, kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Put them on against Indy. They suck ass. Boom. And that'll be the case next year. Indy, unless Indy ends up with the number 1 overall pick, gets a big-time quarterback. And even then, that's not enough. The league does not care about you having the number 1 overall pick. You get 1 game if you suck ass. Next year, Houston and Indy on a Thursday night kill 2 birds, 1 stone. Just like they killed 2 birds with 1 stone tonight. We got it done. We don't have to worry about either one of these teams the remainder of the season. Unless, just like 2020, no games matter at the end of the season. Sunday night, they're going to put on the game that has the most playoff implications. And if you get 2 of these stinking-ass NFC South teams with winner wins the division, takes all, or just like Washington, Philadelphia had nothing to play for. Washington had everything to play for. If it comes down to a situation like that, you may see one of these 2 teams again. I'm just saying mentally prepare yourself for that. Anyway, I think the Buccaneers will win the division, and it won't come down to that, but stranger things have happened. So you know. All right. If you're out there, you want your comment read, use the hashtag LouieTLive. We'll read as many of them as we can get to, or at least the ones that are pertinent. If you want to jump to the front of the line, super chats are the way to do so. All right. Commando, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, I'm waving the white flag on winners and losers league down 20. I don't know if you're take command for life or what. But every year we see it. Somebody comes in thinking they can do damage. They get in the pool, they get their ass whooped early, and then they just drop out. I'm one of those type of people where I ain't giving up. If I'm getting my ass kicked, I'm going to keep fighting, because I can't allow myself to go down without fighting and making something of the season. I haven't had a great year. This has not been a great year for me. I'm struggling. Hell, I'm down 10 to the leader right now. Like, this is the 2nd year in a row where I've been a non-factor. That shit hurts. But this year in particular, I don't feel as bad as I did last year. Last year, I felt like I was scared. Too scared to make bold picks and predictions. And I played it safe, close to the vest, and it got my ass whooped. This year is just, you can do whatever you want. You could play, helter-skelter and just make random-ass picks because the league doesn't make sense. You could try to be rational, make picks that make sense. Either way, you can get your ass kicked. It's just about being consistent. My biggest problem was I haven't been consistent this year. I've been much more consistent of late because I've got a better handle on the league in terms of, hey, bro, this shit don't make sense. So stop trying to make sense of stuff. Take this. This is what you have to boil it down to. It's going to be 4 or 5 games every single week that could go either way. 1 or 2 that don't make any sense. It's going to be an upset. There's going to be an upset every week. You got to find an upset. But you can't go hunting for it so aggressively that you cancel out a couple of really good picks you make with stupid picks that end up getting you beat. And all of a sudden you say to yourself, damn, I made some really good picks over here. But then you got 2 or 3 that stink over here, and it cancels it out. And you look up and you still end up with 5 losses. And you're like, well, goddamn. And the person that has just been consistent, they got 3. So even though you feel like you had a good week, you look up, you're still -2. I'm figuring it out, but I'm not where I want to be, but I can't give up. It ain't in my DNA. All right. Gregory Lightbody writes, what the F is going on in Washington? Every week it's about Snyder. He just needs to sell. I mean, you've been a fan long enough. You know what it is. Like, this is what I tell myself. We're nearing the end. Soon we won't have to deal with this anymore. But until he's gone, this is going to be a problem. This has always been a problem. It continues to be a problem. And now that we feel like we're getting near the end, you're getting to the point now where any little thing is going to piss us off. Because we're like, bro, just go already. Just go. Leave us be. You've already tormented us for long enough. Leave us alone. Go. Take your money and don't come back. And so as you get closer, it's almost like when you get close to the end of the school year and you're like, come on, man. Like, I'm just ready for the school year to be over with. I ain't really trying to add too many more assignments. Miss me with all the extra stuff. Just, can I get to the finish line? Like graduating, when you're in 12th grade, you're over it, right? That senior year is supposed to be fun. I ain't trying to do a whole bunch of work. I shouldn't have that many classes. If I took care of business years, 9 through 11, I should be chilling in 12. You get to the end of the school year, people talking about doing this and that. Like, bro, I'm just trying to get to the finish line. That's how we are with Snyder right now. Like, look, I don't really care about no more lawsuits, no more cases on him. I don't care about that shit. We got enough. He's had enough, apparently. Sell the shit. Let's move on. He says, the AG suing the league, and Dan, I really hope the league doesn't end up trying to defend Dan. Well, they may end up trying to defend Dan if it helps them defend themselves. But at the end of the day, it's a frivolous lawsuit. I don't think anybody really truly cares about the outcome of this lawsuit. The only way that this lawsuit gets any play is if Daniel Snyder is still somehow around. But if Daniel Snyder sells, because this is the litigation process. So this is going to take a while before it gets resolved. Nobody cares. And the attorney general, he really don't want to smoke with the NFL. The NFL got guns that go brat, brat. Not them little rat-tat-tat guns that the attorney general has. Get out of here with that. You know how long the NFL's money stretches? Man, get out of here with that. This is more about Daniel Snyder and them trying to, make a statement on him. And at this point, we don't really care. If you're a Washington fan, you're like, all right, that's cool. Get out of here with that. Unless you're doing something towards the Get Dan Out of Town fund, unless you're helping fund that, get out of here with your foolishness. Gregory Lightbody also writes, do you know anything about the Red Sox owner, John Henry, who is a candidate to buy Washington? I have no idea who he is. Nothing about him. I don't know anything about a lot of these dudes that are trying to buy the team. Honestly speaking, I honestly don't care. To be honest with you, I would love to tell you I've got a dossier on all of these cats that are trying to buy the team, and I'm well versed in what these guys want to come in and do and what their philosophical approach will be. I have no idea. I have no clue. I don't concern myself with things that I have no control over, and that, honestly speaking, at this point, as long as the person who owns the team isn't named Daniel Snyder, I really don't give a shit. And we could be walking into another crisis situation with an owner, another guy that just absolutely sucks ass as an owner. Well, that's what we'll have to deal with, but it won't be Daniel Snyder. So I don't know. And frankly, I don't even care. I just want Dan to sell. Got a super chat here from Dan Snyder. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, What if I'm not ready to go? What about my feelings? Damn your feelings. Damn anything to do with Daniel Snyder. You've had 23 years of ruining this franchise. It's rich history. It's devoted fan base. You've done everything in your power to make this experience as a fan as miserable as possible. Nobody cares about any feelings that you or your family has at this point. The only thing we want Daniel Snyder to do at this point is to sell the team. Period. Mike Stevenson II, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Big Lou. Well, Mike, let's have a clean fight Monday. Now, LOL. I expect us to push you. You know, I expect us to push you. And we'll see how it goes. But, you know, at this point, we got nothing to lose. We double-digit underdogs. Crowd's going to be amped up. This is another Philadelphia Eagle home game on primetime television. Like, damn, how many of these are you going to give these guys, right? You've already played Dallas on primetime at home. You've already played the Vikings on primetime at home. Now you're playing us on primetime at home. Like, shit. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I like the position we sit in. We got nothing to lose. And they've already told us we're supposed to not only lose, we're supposed to get our asses handed to us. What are we showing up for? Might as well just give the Eagles their 9th win and just move on. So we're in a great spot. We get our asses whooped. Everybody expected that. We make it an interesting game. Oh, wow, look, Washington's not as bad as we thought. We win the game. Look out for Washington. We can't lose in this situation other than losing the game. But it's funny. Somebody said every time we play on primetime, something crazy happens. More news. While that is true, we had a Thursday night game against the Bears, and then the ESPN article drops, and it's a bombshell, and there's all kinds of foolishness going on. And I had to remind everybody, oh, yeah, we do have a game today. This is not new. Even when we don't play on primetime, this is the type of shit that happens. So I'm looking forward to as you said, a clean fight on Monday night. Touch gloves and come out swinging. I'm ready. You know what else I'm ready for? I'm ready to be able to watch a bunch of games without worrying about my team. I didn't have to worry about them on the Thursday night week when we beat the Bears. It was great when we played at 425 against the Colts. Got to watch all the games that week. Gonna get to watch all the games this week. This is nice. I'm gonna enjoy that. Ree writes, Arthur Smith looks like he has a stamp collection, and he very well may have a stamp collection. Amar 2 times official writes, I know I'm not in a position to talk, but man, Mariota is frustrating to watch. Again, I knew Marcus Mariota, participated in foolishness from time to time. I did not know he did some of the things that he did tonight. I was not aware of that he had that in him. I thought there were times tonight where you never know what is being preached. You don't know what he's being told all throughout the week. Hey, look, just don't turn it over. Don't create short fields for Carolina. If we got to punt the football. If you don't like what you see, if you get spooked for any reason, just hold on to it. I'd rather you get sacked than you to make a mistake, which clearly he didn't get the memo if that was the message. But there were times where he would hold on to the ball and you're like, yo, Marcus, bro, what are you doing? Do something. Either run or throw it. You cannot stand there, though. He didn't look good tonight. And there are times this season where I'll be like, damn, Marcus looks good. Tonight wasn't one of them. He didn't look good tonight. He didn't look comfortable. He didn't make smart decisions. There's one play where they're in field goal range, or at least on the fringe, with Wk10. He's got a big leg. You're probably in field goal range. With the weather being what it was, don't know if you want to kick a 50, 2-yard field goal, but you'd love the opportunity to make that decision, right? Well, Mariota took that decision from you because there's pressure. There's a little pressure, but he had time in the pocket. Didn't like what he saw. A little bit of pressure. He escapes it. All right, outflanks the defensive tackle. There's another guy chasing him. And instead of him throwing the shit out of bounds, clearly you don't like what you see. You're running out of real estate. Instead of him chucking it well out of the pocket, chuck that shit out of bounds, have the ball go back to the original line of scrimmage, he just casually jaunts out of bounds with the football. Now it's 4th down, and instead of it being 4th and 10, it's 4th and 15. Instead of you thinking about kicking a 52-yard field goal, now it's 57. Now you got to punt. And I'm just thinking, bro, what are you doing? You're too old for this shit, man. Like, that's for the young boys. If Zach Wilson does something like that, I look at Zach and I say, all right, man, you a young boy. All right, you need to grow up, but you a young boy. Hey, don't do that shit no more. Right? If Trevor Lawrence does something like that, I look at Trevor and I say, you know better. You know better, but you a young boy. So I'm going to cut you a little bit of slack and I'm going to give you a little bit of grace because you're a young boy. Marcus Mariota's too old for that shit. You know better. You know better. You know better. You can't run out of bounds right there. When I see dumb shit like that, like Derek Carr does stupid shit like that, and I'm just like, Derek, now you know we don't play that shit around here. You can't run out of bounds with the ball in your hands 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage. You know better than that shit. You too old to be doing stupid shit like that. Mariota he was cutting up tonight, man. I was so disappointed in him. Hunter Hodovic, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, Sup T, flying out to Philly tomorrow. Keep me in y'all's prayers. Should be a good time. Just hoping I'm not flying into a massacre. I don't think you are. This is a much different team than the last time when we played Philadelphia. And as bad as we played against the Eagles the first time around, it was only 24-8. Could have easily been a lot worse. I think that if we can limit the big plays and we get better play on 3rd downs, because that's really what it boiled down to the first time when we played them, was 3rd downs in the 2nd quarter. If we could, because they didn't score in the 1st quarter against us. They didn't score in the 3rd quarter against us. They didn't score in the 4th quarter against us. They scored all 24 of their points in the 2nd quarter. I really, truly think that we will be in that game with a chance to win in the 4th quarter. Will we be able to pull it out? I don't know. But I don't think this is going to be an ass whooping. I'll just say that. I've said this already. Eagles fans always think I'm trying to hate. I haven't seen dominant from them this season enough. I've seen a team that has found ways to win. They've been excellent in the 2nd quarter. They're a hell of a front-running team, but I haven't seen them put their foots on necks and throats and, really throttle some teams. I haven't seen them do that. And you don't have to do that to be dominant. They're 8-0. But this is what when you're a dominant team, you need to invoke fear in the opponent. I need to know that there are consequences for you allowing us to jump on you early or for you to turn the football over. There are consequences. You can get embarrassed tonight. That's why it was tough with the Chiefs when they had it going. It put so much pressure on you that, hey, we got to play the perfect game. Either we got to take the air out of the football and we got to win time possession, keep their offense off the field, or we're going to have to find a way to create turnovers, or we're going to have to outscore these bastards. It puts so much pressure on you to be perfect when you're playing a team that's dominant, that's truly dominant. That's not what the Eagles are. They're not truly dominant. The Houston Texans were competitive with them for 3.5 quarters. They haven't, I mean, they beat up the Steelers, but the Steelers, there were opportunities. The Steelers were in that game. There were opportunities you felt like they should be blowing the Steelers out, but they weren't. So they got to the fourth quarter. And they finally put those boys away. But I don't think the Eagles are fear-inducing. And I've said this many a times. You don't have to be afraid. You don't have to be fearful. That is not a prerequisite for you to get your ass beat. You don't have to be afraid to get, beat up. Punks jump up to get beat down. All right. You could be all brolic and rah-rah, making all the noise you want. And you walk up to a dude as quiet as a mouse, and you can get the brakes beat off of you. You all of this rah-rah jumping up, and he just like, hey, bro, back up. And then he two-piece you, and it's over. I like our chances. I said all of that to say this. I don't think you're flying into a massacre. I don't know if you're coming back home with a dub. Probably more likely than not, you won't. But I don't think you're going out there and feeling like, hey, y'all ready to go? It's third quarter. Y'all ready? I don't think you're going to be doing that. I don't think you have that decision to make. We'll see. Vincent Coe, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Vincent Coe, writes, Lou, how to unlock Kyle Pitts? He should be a beast. He is a beast. The problem is, look at what he's dealing with. First of all, his offense, you saw the percentages. They laid it out. The Falcons run the football. I think they were the second highest on the list percentage-wise in terms of how much they run the football. I just told you Mariota doesn't throw the football any more than 15 to 20, 25 in a crazy week. He'll throw it 25, times. He threw it 30 times tonight. I'm going to go out on a limb and guess. If that's not his season high, it's not that far away from his season high, meaning he might add a game where he had like 32 passing attempts. Like, he doesn't throw the football all the time. When they're at their best, Mariota threw it 18 times. He was 14 of 18 for 137 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. They run the football, 39 times for 172 yards. They win the game, just like they beat San Francisco. That's the kind of game they want. He doesn't throw it a ton. They run it a bunch, have success, score enough points, win the football game. But Pitts, in an offense like that, Kyle Pitts isn't going to be allowed to shine. Kyle Pitts in his rookie season had 1,000 yards. You know why? Because he had Matt Ryan. And Matt Ryan's going to throw that bitch all around the yard. Some to the other team, but he's going to give his guy an opportunity as well. That's not the offense they're running right now with Mariota. They're trying to limit the amount of times he throws the football. So it's going to be hard to unlock Kyle Pitts till he gets a quarterback. That's the frustrating part. Is you got this, and that's we talked about this back in the 2020 draft, or was it 2021? Talked about this in the 2021 draft when he was selected. Do you take Justin Fields? This is the conversation I had because we already knew the first 3 picks were going to all be quarterbacks. We didn't know the order, but we felt like we knew the order. Lawrence 1, Wilson 2, and I was adamant Lance would be 3, and he was. Falcons sat right there at number 4, if I'm not mistaken. And then it was Cincinnati, and they took Jamar Chase. And I said, Atlanta, I know you got Matt Ryan. It's cool to get Kyle Pitts. He's a unicorn. They don't come around as often. But can you pass up an opportunity to get a quarterback here? Because you don't know if you'll be in this position again to be able to select one. Passed up on Fields. That's fine. I'm not telling them they were wrong because I wasn't the biggest Justin Fields fan. They took Kyle Pitts. They gave Matt Ryan a target. He's, he was outstanding in his rookie season. Now you don't have a quarterback to give him the football. So, and there's nobody around him either. And he wasn't supposed to be coming into a situation. Remember, it was supposed to be Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and now Kyle Pitts. That was supposed to be the group. Julio Jones gone that offseason. You got him and Ridley for a year. Then Ridley gets popped for gambling. He's no longer in the equation. He's got shipped out now to Jacksonville. They got Drake London now. I'm not a massive Drake London fan. He's not super trash, but he's not great. I can see him being Kenny Golladay type, right? Anyway, they still need a quarterback. Pitts was, I'll give you a great example. He was wide ass open on a deep over route. All right, I don't know what the Panthers were doing, but they turned him loose, and Mariota throws it 2 yards over his head. And you're thinking, bro, just get it to him. That might be a touchdown. Here comes the safety, but Pitts can make him miss, stiff arm him, something. There wasn't another soul within 10 yards to tackle this dude. And Mariota missed him. There's another catch he makes later in the game where he's got to go up and he's got to use every inch of that frame that he's got to pull the ball down. He bobbles it, but he's able to corral it because Mariota almost threw it over his head again. Hard to unlock Pitts when you don't have the right man getting him the football. The offense just doesn't really suit him right now. But we'll see what happens down the road. They get a quarterback. We know the dude's super talented. Anyway. Reese says, won't lie, those Black Panthers alternate helmets are crispy. So let's talk about that. I'm glad you brought that up, Bree, because my wife was watching the game with me and she's like, damn, those uniforms, they hit different. And I'm like, yeah, they do. I said, I'm going to tell you what set it off, babe. I said, it's the helmets. She's like, yeah, those are nice. I said, yeah, it's the first time wearing them. She said, well, yeah, I like that. I said, I'm going to keep it a buck. I don't know if there's a better color combination in the league than what the Panthers put on a weekly basis. That black with that teal bluish, sky blue color, whatever color you want to call it, they probably call it Panther blue. But that sky bluish, it's a little bit darker than sky blue. But that blue against that backdrop of black with a splash of gray or white, shit is nice, man. That's undefeated, bro. And then they throw on the black helmets to go with it. That's clean. That shit was clean. I've always been a fan of the colorway of the Carolina Panthers. It's just a clean colorway, man. I don't know if there's a better colorway in the league, to be honest with you. Reed writes, thanks to the Panthers, we're back alone in first place. That you are. For how long is the question? For how long is the question? You should have lost to the damn Rams on Sunday. But you didn't. I don't think it's going to be for that long. I think you could be right back at 4-6 with the Falcons sharing first place by about 12:30 Eastern time on Sunday. But I could be wrong. We'll see. Kevin the PRF writes, did you hear Al Michaels talking about a Falcon tackle saying they wanted him to be an Aaron Donald, Jonathan Allen type? I'm trying to tell y'all, man, what my boy Jonathan Allen is out here doing is he's changing the game and the way people have to look at him, right? Like even me as a fan, same with Deron Payne. I didn't think either one of those dudes were super dominant. You know, I was looking at him and I'm like even when John Allen got paid, I was like, hey, that's cool, man. Good dude, team captain. You hate to lose a guy like him who's built different, who has a different mentality, the kind of mentality you need if you're going to change this thing around and try to have a winner eventually. But in my mind, I was like, he all right. He ain't all that. He good. But I always thought Daron Payne was more talented than Jonathan Allen. And one of the sayings around Washington's, organization for years was, you want to take Jonathan Allen's demeanor and work ethic and put it in the body of Daron Payne, because Payne was the more talented of the two. But Allen's work ethic and his mentality was unmatched. Well, Jonathan Allen is starting to look like the guy that I thought we were getting when we drafted him out of. The guy that was jumping Superman over defenders in the SEC, that had 10.5 sacks, that, I thought we got a steal for at number 17 overall. He looks like that dude now. Like, I already said it. There was a time where you could probably name 7 or 8 defensive tackles before you even get to Jonathan Allen. Yeah, he's good. But, a lot of times what we do as Washington fans is we overrate the shit that we have, because we don't have a lot. So the 1 or 2 players that are actually good, we want to make them one of the best in the league. And truth be told, they're not. Jonathan Allen is one of the best in football at his position. Right now, it's a short list. It's Aaron Donald, it's Chris Jones, and is Jeffrey Simmons. Those are the only 3 defensive tackles that I would take over Jonathan Allen right now. That's it. Allen is playing at an all-pro level right now. I hope he gets the recognition that he deserves, because it's easy to overlook what dudes are doing in Washington. I don't think you can overlook, and I'm hoping he puts together one of those performances on Monday so that he lets everybody know. The ones that haven't been watching, that don't care, you can't ignore this shit. If he does what he did to the Vikings, you can't ignore that. I can't tell you how many Vikings fans hit me up after the game, was like, bro, your defensive line, shit. They pretty much talking about the interior. I mean, Sweat was getting there too and hitting Kirk Cousins. But the heart and soul of Washington's D-line right now is inside. And it starts with John Allen. But Payne has been nasty. And it's refreshing to hear people say, hey, we want him to play like Jonathan Allen. Because Allen he's that dude. Sports Talker 69. You think Roger covered up for Dan? Well, it's Roger's job to protect the owners. That's his job. Do I think he covered up for him? Damn right. We already know that there was an entire report that was written, and Roger, literally, they had to wheel the shit into his office, and Roger's like, I don't want that. Just give it to me verbally. You know why Roger wanted it verbally? So he could say, hey, we don't have any documents. We don't have anything written. There's nothing for you guys to see, right? Like, remember, when we were going through Deflategate, we had like a 200-page, outline of Ted Wells' findings as to whether Tom Brady and the New England Patriots cheated. And everything pretty much pointed to the Patriots not cheating, and he still suspended them anyway. We get a whole investigation into a toxic workplace where women have spoken up. There are different things going on that point to all kinds of dysfunction, mistreatment, and misconduct. Members of the staff have been fired behind this. And you're telling me there's no written evidence of anything? There's no report of the findings? It's just verbal? Yeah, you're damn right he was covering for Dan. We all know that. Absolutely, he was covering for him. All right. Well, that's it. Panthers get the win, 25-15. Again, not shocked by the victory for the Panthers. Thought they could pull this off. I've seen these divisions play out before. I know how this goes. Being a fan of a team that won one of these divisions, it's going to be like this for much of the season unless Tampa Bay gets their act together and turns it up. This is going to be what the division is going to be, and Carolina is right in the mix. Again, they've beaten every single team in the division once this season already. They've only won 3 games. All 3 of the games they've won have come in the division. If they want to win the division, they're going to have to beat a team or 2 outside of the division. That's where the problem is going to ultimately end up with Carolina, and that's why they're not going to win the division. But it's not going to stop them from being competitive. You saw it tonight. The Falcons aren't supposed to be in this spot. We thought, and we were so wrong about a lot of teams. I can't speak for you. I was wrong about a lot of teams. I said Indianapolis would suck and they were going to take a step back. I was right about that. I thought Tennessee would suck this year, and they should suck. But the rest of their division is so awful, they've been able to stay afloat. And they've won some games. Frankly, they beat Washington, and they've won some games this year against some teams that you think, wow, how the hell did they find a way to win that game? And then they go to Kansas City, and they nearly beat the Chiefs. So I was wrong about the Titans. But I was no more wrong about the Falcons and the Seahawks and the Giants. Those were the 3 teams that I did not see what was happening with these teams happening. Didn't see, a lot of people felt like the Jets would be a lot better this season. 6-3 better? No. But we all could see a path to where the Jets were hyper competitive and threatening to make the playoffs. I don't think anybody saw that with the Giants. I don't think anybody saw that with the Seahawks. I don't think anybody saw that with the Falcons. Again, let me speak for myself. I didn't see that happening with any of those teams. So here we go. The Falcons are 4-6. They let one slip through their fingers here. And last week against the Chargers, a really banged up Chargers team, they somehow let come in Atlanta and beat them. And here's another opportunity to beat a team in the division that's not very good. You let that opportunity go by the wayside. Now you're 4-6. You were 4-4 just 2 weeks ago, sitting atop the division all by your lonesome. 2 weeks later, you've lost 2 games in a row, and you're no longer in first place. But for how long? The Buccaneers will determine that. But in any event, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. I thank you guys for joining me. Panthers get the win, 25-15. They're 3-7. The Falcons dropped to 4-6. They're no longer in the first place. That belongs to the Buccaneers, who are 4-5. They got the Seattle Seahawks over in Germany, the first ever NFL game played in Germany. We'll see how that goes. But until next time, I'm your man Louie T. I thank you guys for joining me. I look forward to chopping it up with you. I don't know if tomorrow will take place. I think I'm going to be out of the office a little bit tomorrow. I may get back in enough time to do a podcast. If not, you'll see me on Sunday. It's for Sunday Night Football, Chargers and 49ers. And then Monday night, Commanders and Eagles. Should be a good one. Until then, you guys have a good one. God bless and good night.
LouieTeeNetwork.